Hi guys, it's Sabrina. So today I'm going to be doing a video on 10 things I wish I knew before I started medical school. I have a list written down here on my iPad, and it's just a list of 10 things you might want to know, or maybe I've already mentioned before in my previous videos, but I wanted to make a concise video about it. And these are things I wish I had known during or before I had started medical school. They were really things that I kind of learned throughout the year. So I hope you find these tips really helpful, and let's get started. Okay, so number one, I wrote start using resources like Sketchy and Pathoma and First Aid, and don't be afraid to start using them early. I know a lot of people use these resources right before they start studying for step one or during their study time for step one, but I think it's really good to actually start taking a look at First Aid, Pathoma, Sketchy, and looking at the sections and using them to benefit you on your exams. It was actually really helpful. Pathoma was really great for pathology. It was concise. It breaks it up into blocks, which is how medical school is usually broken up. It's usually broken up into different types of blocks on different subjects. So I thought it was really helpful, and I used it for that. I used Sketchy for micro, and I used it for pharm, and I recommend that you definitely take a look at Sketchy if you have to memorize any crazy drugs. Really helpful. And just being able to use these resources and already know where to find everything, know how to use them, know how it benefits you is really helpful later when you're actually going to take the step one test. So I definitely recommend start using it now, especially First Aid. Start highlighting, start taking notes in it as you are going to lecture, as you are in your first year of medical school. So I hope you find that helpful. 2, start doing Anki earlier. It helps you study and review. Anki is a flashcard system, and specifically for medical school, they have an Anki Step 1 deck that I really recommend. Very helpful if you just Google Zanki Step 1 deck for medical school, and it'll pop up on Google. You can download it. I downloaded it on my iPad, and I did actually have to pay money. It does cost money to get it on your iPad, but it's really helpful. It also my phone, if I'm ever stuck in a place where I just can pull out my phone and do some flashcards and review, it's really helpful. I recommend that. I didn't start doing it until recently in March. That's when I finally started dedicating my time to doing flashcards. And I just found it so helpful. It was reminding me of what I had already forgotten, because you forget things. So I recommend that. And it also helps you review and study for an exam, because you can do different topics and specific blocks that you're studying and just do flashcards, and it helps you really practice for an exam. So I recommend you use that resource a lot. Number 3, if you have to read to study for exams, don't waste your time copying notes by hand unless that's the only way you think you can study and it's the only way that's worked for you. But I've been using online reading formats like PDFs and those types of books, because it's actually easier to copy and paste something that I find important, or highlight something that I find important, and just use that. I used to actually waste a lot of time by just writing out everything I was reading, and it took forever, and I wasn't being time efficient. I started freaking out because I didn't feel like I actually had enough time to study, because I was spending most of my studying time just copying notes out of a book or writing out notes out of a book. So try to be time efficient and figure out what works best for you. Number 4, obviously make a schedule and stick to it. But if you do fall off track, know it's not the end of the world, that you are going to be able to catch up, that you will get that study time in. But of course, don't always find excuses to not study. Try to stay on your schedule, but don't freak out if you don't always are on your schedule, because sometimes I make schedules in my head and they're amazing, and I get home and I'm like, I'm only going to be able to do half of what I thought I would be able to do, because I kind of make unrealistic schedules, I've realized. So I try not to be down on myself when I can't actually keep up with my crazy schedule, but once again, just try to kind of think out what you want to do and then try to do it, but it's okay if you don't get it all done. Number 5, surprisingly, you will still have time to do social things. It won't be as much as you might be used to in college, but you will still be able to go do things with your classmates, with your friends, with your family members, and don't always say no. Just try to find time to fit it in. I know it sometimes seems impossible, and I felt guilty before going to do something fun instead of studying, which is the worst feeling in the world. When you feel guilty for just relaxing, it's just not a good feeling. So just know that yes, medical school is crazy. You are always studying. Sometimes that really sucks, but surprisingly, you will have time for social things. It's not as bad as you think it is. Right before I started school, I thought my social life would be over. It's not. You're gonna have times where you just have downtimes. You can actually go hang out with your classmates. You guys can go out together and celebrate after an exam, and you'll see, you'll fit it in. It'll be great. Number 6, go to the gym or try to do something that involves like staying active and being active. It's so important. Us medical school students will literally be stuck in our rooms or in our study places all day, sit there all day, don't really move much, and just eat and sit and eat. So it's really good to just find time to stay active, and it also just helps like refresh your mind. There'll be a point when you're just like, I'm so done studying, and then if you just go like jump on the elliptical or do something for like 30 minutes, you'll feel so much better. So I really recommend you just put it in your schedule. Even if you feel like you don't have time, you do have time. It's just 30 minutes of your day, so fit it in. It's really important. It also gives you endorphins. It makes you happier. It makes you refreshed. I think trying to fit in a way to do exercise is really important. Number 7, you have to get used to the fact that you won't be at the top of your class all the time or ever. It's going to be really different in medical school. I know that they tell you guys this a lot, but it's also crazy how it feels when you're actually there and when you're actually there and it's actually happening. You don't really believe it. You're like, whatever, I'm still going to be amazing. I'm going to do great. I'm going to kill it all the time. You might kill it a lot of the time, but you're definitely not going to kill it all the time. There's going to be good days and bad days. Just get used to it. Don't like be down on yourself. If you did bad on a test, figure out why you did bad, how you can change it. Forget about it. Go on to the next test. That's kind of how medical school works. You're not always going to be perfect, and it's really hard for us to accept that. Trust me. You're surrounded by the best of the best in medical school, so it's not like college anymore. Everyone around you is literally at the top. Number 8, there's going to be good lecturers, there's going to be bad lecturers, so it is up to you to decide who is actually helping you and who is hindering you. Of course, there are schools that do mandatory lectures. Ours was doing mandatory lectures for most of the time, but now they've been more lenient and letting us decide like, hey, who's actually helping you guys and who's not. And at one point I was still going to lecture even though I knew it wasn't really helping me, and I was just getting frustrated. I wasn't really listening to the lecture. I wasn't getting anything out of it, and I noticed that once again I was just wasting good studying time that I could be at home like using effectively. So just keep in mind that you have to figure out like who works for you and who doesn't work for you, and you might have a ton of teachers and different lecturers. We do definitely have a lot of different lecturers per block. It's not just one per block, it's like multiple. So I try to gauge like, hey, who's actually like helping me out here and who's not. Number 9, it's okay to cry and have a bad day. It's like, I don't know, there are days where you're just like, everything is going wrong, I am dead tired, why am I doing this to myself? Like crazy things go out through your brain and you're just sad, and it's okay to just sit down and cry or just feel down. Because if you're just going to go through every day like, oh, it's fine, I'm going to be fine, whatever, fine, you're going to crash and burn. So just let yourself feel emotions and realize that it's normal to feel these emotions. We're all going through it with you, so it's okay to have a bad day. And number 10, this one is like really funny. Before I started medical school, I didn't realize I'd get asked this question like a million times in a row while I am in medical school. So every time I tell people that I'm in medical school, the second question that comes out of their mouth is, so what kind of doctor do you want to become? And like, I have an idea of what I want to become, but most of us who are in medical school know that we don't really know what's going on yet. Like we're like first years or second years and we're still trying to figure it out, and we're still going through like the education part of medical school. So we haven't actually gone to clinicals, we haven't actually been out there to figure out what we like, and it's the most annoying question in the world. You're like, okay, I don't know, I get this asked every single time I tell someone I'm in medical school. Like, do I just stop saying I'm in medical school? Probably. So I've kind of just come up with the basic answer, family doctor. Like that's what I say all the time, even if I don't know 100% that's what I want to do. I've just said that so I can get people off my back. So I get it all the time, and I can't be like, well, I don't know. And then they're like, well, how come you don't know? And then I have to explain the whole process. So you'll get that a lot while you're in medical school. I guess deal with it as you wish. But that's my 10 things I wish I knew before I started medical school. I hope you guys found it helpful. They're general things. I don't know if you guys already knew most of these or not, but I hope you find this video helpful. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my upcoming videos. Bye, guys.